The waking had the specific, disoriented quality of consciousness returning from a forced interruption. The particular, compressed quality of not knowing that preceded the knowing, and that was, in the preceding, the specific kind of frightening that the not knowing always was. Not the gradual waking of sleep's natural conclusion, but the sudden, incomplete quality of someone whose consciousness had been interrupted, and was, in the returning, arriving at a situation it had not chosen and did not yet understand. He lay still. This was the first decision, not the performed stillness of someone pretending to be unconscious, but the specific, deliberate stillness of someone who had been in enough unknown situations to understand that the first action in an unknown situation was the accurate assessment of the situation rather than the reactive response to it. 5 years of deep space survey work had built in him the quality of someone who could be present in the disorienting thing and could, in the being, remain present enough to read the disorienting thing with the quality it deserved. He read. The sounds were wrong. Not wrong in the alarming sense, wrong in the specific, informational sense of someone who knew the ambient sound of a survey vessel with the thorough familiarity of someone who had spent 5 years in one, and who was, in the listening, hearing something that was not that. The scale was wrong. The ambient sound had the quality of a space built for thousands rather than 3. The specific acoustic character of a large vessel's atmospheric management system that differed from a survey vessel's in the particular, identifiable way of something built for a different operational requirement. The air quality was different. The gravity's specific quality was different. He opened his eyes. The chamber had the quality of a space that had been furnished rather than emptied, the specific, crucial distinction between a cell and an accommodation that the survey operatives' trained attention to the accurate assessment of spaces registered immediately. The furnishings were present, and they were good furnishings. The Varath aesthetic quality that he recognized from the survey work's cultural documentation. The specific, particular quality of Varath design that communicated functional elegance rather than the performed grandeur of spaces built to impress. Not a cell. He sat up. He assessed his own condition with the methodical quality of someone performing a systematic check, the physical inventory of someone who needed accurate information about their own state before they could accurately assess anything else. No injuries beyond the specific, dull quality of someone who had been rendered unconscious and whose body was registering the rendering's aftermath. No restraints. His survey operative's standard clothing, not his equipment. The equipment was absent, which was the expected finding and not the alarming one. He stood, he went to the door. The door was not locked. He stood at the open door with the survey operative's quality and the specific, complete quality of someone processing information that their preparation had not prepared them for. The door opened from the inside. The corridor beyond had the warship's operational quality, the personnel moving through it with the purposeful efficiency of people performing their functions in an operational environment that was, to them, simply where they were. 2 Varath soldiers stood at a respectful distance from the door's exterior, not positioned across the threshold, positioned in the corridor with the specific, professional quality of people performing a function. They were wearing the Varath military's formal dress rather than the combat configuration, which was the informational detail that the survey operatives' trained attention registered and filed. Formal dress in a corridor, outside an accommodation, rather than combat configuration outside a cell. One of them looked at him and said, in the accord common language with the careful fluency of someone who had learned it for professional purposes. You are awake, she will see you now. He was conducted through the warship. He read it as he moved through it with the full quality of the attention, the systematic, comprehensive reading of a space that the 5 years had built in him. The specific, trained quality of someone who understood that the reading of a space was the reading of the civilization that had built it. The warship scale communicated the Varath sovereignty's capability in the specific, honest way that scale communicated capability, not the performed communication of something built to impress. The honest communication of something built to function, and that had in the building for the function become impressive. The personnel's quality communicated the civilization's operational character. The efficiency, the specific quality of people who were doing their work with the competence the work required, and who were, in the doing, not performing the competence but simply having it. The warship was enormous. He had known the Varath sovereignty's naval capability from the survey program's intelligence picture. The intelligence picture had been accurate. The intelligence picture had not been sufficient for the specific quality of being inside the capability rather than reading the picture of it. He was brought to the command level. The command chamber had the specific quality of a space built for the significant work. Not the throne room's performed grandeur, not the institutional architecture of somewhere designed to communicate authority, but the particular, functional quality of somewhere where the significant decisions were made by someone who needed the space to support the decision-making rather than to announce the decision-maker. The viewport was the chamber's dominant feature, the full operational view of the deep space beyond the warship's course, the specific, vast quality of the contested outer system's deep margin, where his survey vessel had been when the sensors had recorded the warship's approach, and then stopped recording. Queen Varasaln was standing at the viewport. He assessed her with the survey operative's trained quality, the comprehensive, rapid reading of the person that 5 years of meeting unknown people in unknown places had built in him. She was Varath, the pointed ears sharp through dark hair and the formal arrangement, the specific physical quality of someone whose presence communicated something before the communication was deliberate, the particular quality of someone whose authority was not in the presentation, but in the fact of the person. She was looking at the deep space with the quality of someone for whom the deep space was not the abstraction, but the operational environment. Not the tourist's wonder at the scale of it, but the commander's familiar relationship with the place she worked. She turned when he entered. She looked at him. The look had the specific quality of the thorough, rapid assessment, the reading of him conducted with the full quality of someone for whom the accurate assessment of a person was the natural first action, and who was, in the reading, building the complete picture with the efficiency of someone who had been building complete pictures for a long time. He held the look with the survey operative's quality, present in the reading, not performing the composure but genuinely present in the assessment's receipt. The quality of someone who understood that being read accurately was not the threatening thing but the informational thing. She said, in the accord common language, with the fluency of someone for whom the fluency was a deliberate choice and a developed capability rather than a limitation. "You are not a prisoner." He looked at her. "Then what am I?" he said. She looked at him for a moment. The full quality, the complete assessment, the reading concluded and the conclusion present, and the decision about the word already made, and the word chosen with the specific, careful quality of someone who had been building to this word for longer than this conversation. "Mine," she said. The word had the specific, weighted quality of something said by someone who understood exactly what they were saying, and who was, in the saying it with the full weight of the understanding. Not the possessive's casual quality, the deliberate, significant quality of a word that had been chosen from the available words, because it was the accurate word, and the accurate word was the one the situation required. He processed it with the survey operative's quality. He processed it the way he processed genuine unknowns, not the reactive response, not the performance of the alarmed or the offended, but the specific, patient quality of someone who was in the genuine unknown, and who was, in the being, reading it with the full quality the genuine unknown deserved. "Explain the word," he said. She looked at him with something that was not the assessment quality, something that was, in the specific, slight quality of it, closer to the recognition quality, the quality of someone who has heard something that confirms an assessment they had already made. "Sit down," she said. There was a table with chairs, the functional quality of a working space, not the throne room's arrangement, but the specific, practical quality of somewhere that two people could sit across from each other and conduct the significant conversation with the attention the significant conversation required. She sat across from him. "The Accord's Deep Space Survey Program," she said. "Your program has been operating in regions adjacent to the Varath Sovereignty's Eastern Theater for 14 months. "Yes," he said. "The survey program's outer sector expansion. The survey operative's movements and work have been in the Sovereignty's intelligence picture for the 14 months, she said. He nodded. This was expected. The survey program operated in regions adjacent to the Sovereignty's territory, and the Sovereignty's intelligence apparatus would have maintained the standard awareness of the program's operational picture. The intelligence picture included the survey operative's documentation, she said. The reports filed with the Accord's survey archive, the content of the survey work. He looked at her. "You read the survey reports," he said. "Yes," she said. 14 months of survey reports, he said. "Yes," she said. "All of them," he said. "Yes," she said. All of the survey operatives' reports, the complete picture of the program's outer sector work across 14 months. He was quiet for a moment. "What were you looking for?" he said. She looked at him. "A specific quality," she said. "The survey program's operatives document the unknown. The unknown is the frontier's character. The specific, genuine quality of places the institutional framework has not yet reached. Civilizations the institutional categories have not yet classified. Situations the managed approach has not yet encountered." She paused. "The survey operatives document these things. Most of them document them with the institutional framework's language, the categories and the classifications, the managed version of the unknown that the institutional language produces when it is applied to things the institutional language was not built for." He looked at her. "Most of them," he said. "Yes," she said, "most of them." "And mine," he said. She looked at him with the full quality. "Yours were different from the first report," she said. "Not different in the technical sense, accurate in the same way, thorough in the same way, competent in the same way. Different in the character sense, the specific quality of how you documented what you found." She paused. "You documented the genuine unknown with the genuine unknown's own language. The honest quality of what was actually there, rather than the institutional version of what the categories could accommodate." He looked at the viewport and the deep space and the warship's course. "That is a specific observation," he said, "about a survey report." "It is a specific observation about a person," she said. "The survey report is the person's work. The work's character is the person's character." He looked at her. "You read a survey report," he said, "and found a person." "Yes," she said. "And then I read 14 months of reports to build the complete picture of the person." 14 months, he said. "Yes," he said. He was quiet. "The Eastern Theater," he said. "You mentioned the sovereignty's Eastern Theater." "Yes," she said. "The situation that requires the word you used," he said. She looked at him. "The sovereignty's Eastern expansion has produced a contact," she said. "In the deep Eastern system, beyond the current campaign's operational boundary. A contact with a civilization whose character the sovereignty's institutional framework does not have adequate categories for." "A genuine unknown," he said. "Yes," she said. "The institutional operatives have been managing the contact for 8 months with the institutional approach. The institutional approach has produced, across 8 months, the specific evidence of an approach insufficient for what the contact requires." "The contact requires the genuine quality," he said. "The contact requires someone who can be in the genuine unknown," she said, and read it with the honest quality rather than the institutional quality. He looked at her steadily. "And you read 14 months of survey reports," he said, "to find that person." "Yes," she said. "And the person you found," he said, "is me." "Yes," she said. He looked at the table and the viewport and the deep space and the queen across from him. "The word," he said. "Mine, you explained the institutional reason, the Eastern contact, the genuine quality, the work. But the word is not an institutional word." She looked at him. "No," she said, "it is not." "In the Varath framework," he said, "the personal claim means something specific." "Yes," she said. "Tell me what it means," he said. She looked at him for a long moment with the full quality, the complete assessment of someone deciding what the first conversation could contain and deciding, in the deciding, that the first conversation could contain the complete picture. "In the Varath framework," she said, "the personal claim is the strongest claim the framework contains. It means that you are under my personal protection, not the institutional frameworks, not the command structures, but mine. It means that your safety is my personal responsibility. It means that no one on this ship, no one in the sovereignty's command structure, has the authority to act against your interests without acting against mine." She paused. "It means that I have made a claim that the Varath framework treats as the most significant personal commitment the framework recognizes." He looked at her, "And in return," he said. "And in return," she said, "you give me what I brought you here for, the genuine quality, the honest reading of the Eastern contact's genuine unknown." He was quiet for a moment. "The word is not usually used," he said, "for an institutional arrangement." "No," she said, "it is not." "The word is usually used," he said, "for something personal." "Yes," she said, "it is." He looked at her. "You used a personal word," he said, "for an arrangement that began as institutional." She looked at him with the full, direct quality. "I used the accurate word," she said. "For 14 months I read the work of a person who documented the genuine unknown with the honest quality, For 14 months, I built the complete picture of that person. She paused. The word was accurate from the first report. The 14 months were the preparation for using it. He sat with this. He sat with the survey operative's quality, the specific, patient quality of being present in the significant thing, and giving it the time the significant thing required. The word is bilateral, he said. It was not a question. He had read enough of the survey program's cultural documentation of the Varath civilization to know this. She was quiet for a moment. Yes, she said, it is bilateral. The warship's transit to the Eastern system took 3 weeks. He worked. He worked with the quality that the 14 months of survey reports had communicated, and that the genuine quality always had, the specific, thorough attention of someone who read what was actually there rather than what the institutional framework expected to find, who gave the genuine unknown the honest quality it deserved, and who found in the giving what the institutional framework's 8 months of managed approach had not found. The Eastern contact's documentation was extensive. The institutional operatives had been thorough. The documentation was the thorough documentation of people who had been doing their work with the competence the work required. The documentation's limitation was not the thoroughness, but the quality of the reading the documentation represented. The institutional categories applied to a civilization whose character did not map to the institutional categories. The managed language applied to a genuine unknown that the managed language was not built for. He read it with his quality. He found what was actually there. The contact civilization's character was, in the honest reading, specific and particular and genuine in the way that the genuine unknown was always specific and particular and genuine when it was read with the honest quality rather than the institutional one. Not threatening, the institutional framework's 8 months of managed approach had produced the ambient quality of something that might be threatening, but the honest reading produced the accurate picture, which was the picture of something that was not threatening, but that was genuinely unknown in the specific sense of something that did not map to any existing category, and that therefore required the approach that did not assume the existing categories. He brought the findings to her each evening. The evenings had the specific quality of the working relationship's natural rhythm. The day's reading concluded, and the evening's communication of the conclusions, the two of them at the command chamber's working table with the documentation, and the genuine unknown's honest picture and the approach they were developing together. She received the findings with the quality of someone who had been waiting for the genuine picture, and who was, in the receiving, present in the genuine picture with the full quality that the genuine picture deserved. She brought the sovereignty's institutional framework strategic context, the Eastern campaign's political situation, the contact's implications for the sovereignty's Eastern expansion, the specific, complex quality of what the contact meant in the institutional framework's terms. The combination produced what neither produced alone. The genuine picture of the contact civilization's character integrated with the accurate understanding of the sovereignty's strategic context. The approach that was both honest about the genuine unknown and intelligent about the institutional requirements. It worked. Across the 3 weeks, the approach they were developing was demonstrably, specifically, measurably better than the institutional framework's 8 months of managed approach. This was not the subjective assessment of someone invested in the approach they had developed. It was the specific, documentable quality of an approach that produced accurate predictions about the contact civilization's behavior, and that generated responses the contact civilization received as the intended communication rather than the institutional approach's consistent miscommunication. He learned what she was, not the institutional version, the strategic picture, the sovereignty's monarch, the command structure's apex, the person. The specific quality of the person who had read 14 months of survey, reports for the genuine quality rather than the strategic content, who had built the decision across 14 months for a word that was bilateral, who had been, in the 14 months, doing the thing that the survey operative's honest quality produced in the person who encountered it from the institutional side. The recognition that the genuine quality was not the institutional quality, and that the genuine quality was what the genuine unknown required. She had been looking for someone who could read the genuine unknown honestly. She had also been. He found this in the 3rd week's accumulated quality of the working and the evenings, and the genuine unknown's honest approach. Looking for the person whose documentation had communicated, in the 14 months of reading, the quality of someone worth using the bilateral word for. He told her this on the third week's final day. She looked at him. The documentation assessment, she said. Yes, he said. The 14 months, the genuine quality in the reports, the complete picture of the person. He looked at her steadily. But the word is bilateral, and the bilateral quality of the word means that the 14 months were not only the preparation for the institutional arrangement. She was quiet for a moment. No, she said. They were not only that. The word was accurate from the first report, he said. He was using her language, the precise, careful language of the Varath framework that the survey documentation had given him and that the 3 weeks of working with her had refined. The 14 months were the preparation for using the bilateral word. Yes, she said. The bilateral word requires the complete picture, he said, both ways. Yes, she said. The complete picture of me, he said. 14 months. Yes, she said. And the complete picture of you, he said. 3 weeks. She looked at him. 3 weeks is not 14 months, she said. No, he said. It isn't. He looked at her. But the genuine unknown's honest reading produces the complete picture faster than the institutional approach's managed version. 3 weeks of the genuine quality produces a different picture than 3 weeks of the institutional quality. She was very still. What does the 3 weeks genuine picture show? She said. He looked at her with the survey operative's quality, the comprehensive, honest attention applied to the person across the working table in the same way it had been applied to the Eastern contact's documentation and to the genuine unknown's honest character. Someone who has been in the significant position for long enough that the significant position is the complete context, he said. The Queen, the command structure, the institutional framework, these are the complete context. The position's demands and the position's requirements, and the specific, continuous quality of being the apex of an institutional framework that requires the apex to be the institutional function rather than the person. He paused. The 3 weeks picture shows someone who has been the institutional function for long enough that the institutional function and the person are, he found the word, proximate, but not identical. She looked at him. The 14 months, she said. The survey reports. Yes, he said. The genuine quality in the documentation, she said. Yes, he said. You are saying, she said, that the 14 months were not only the institutional assessment. I am saying, he said, that someone who reads 14 months of survey reports for the genuine quality, for the person in the documentation rather than the strategic content, is doing something that the institutional framework does not require and that the institutional function does not explain. She was quiet. The bilateral word, he said. In the Varath framework, the strongest personal claim the framework contains, protection and personal responsibility, and the strongest claim, bilateral. Yes, she said. You used a bilateral word, he said, after 14 months of reading the documentation for the person. Yes, she said. That is not an institutional arrangement, he said. She looked at him for a long time. No, she said. It is not. The Deep Eastern system arrived at the viewport with the specific quality of the genuine unknown, the honest character of somewhere that had not been seen by the institutional framework's eyes, and that was, in the not being seen, entirely itself. He stood at the viewport. She stood beside him. They stood with the Eastern system visible, and the contact's location known, and the approach they had developed across the 3 weeks ready for the deployment, and the genuine unknown present in the specific, honest quality of something that was what it was rather than what the institutional categories expected. The approach, he said. Yes, she said. We are ready, he said. Yes, she said. He looked at the Eastern system. I need to ask you something, he said. Yes, she said. The bilateral claim, he said, in the Varath framework. The protection and the personal responsibility, bilateral. The person who is claimed has the equivalent claim on the person who claimed them. Yes, she said. You knew this when you used the word, he said. Yes, she said. You gave me the claim, he said, when you made the claim. Yes, she said. In the Varath framework, the personal claim is bilateral. Using the word gives the word to both. He looked at the Eastern system. He looked at the contact's location and the approach and the 3 weeks and the genuine unknown's honest quality and the 14 months and the word. Vara, he said. He used her name in the Accord's personal register, not the Queen's designation, not the sovereignty's monarch's formal address. The name in the register of the bilateral claim, the register of 2 people who had, in the 3 weeks and the 14 months and the genuine quality and the honest reading, built the complete picture of each other. She looked at him. The bilateral claim, he said, both ways, the complete picture both ways. Yes, she said, the Eastern contact, he said. After the contact, after the Eastern situation's resolution. Yes, she said. The bilateral claim is not a temporary condition, he said. No, she said, it is not. He looked at her with the survey operative's full quality. The comprehensive, honest attention applied to the person beside him with the same genuine quality he applied to the deep Eastern system's genuine unknown. I woke on this warship, he said, convinced I was a prisoner. Yes, she said, the door opened from the inside, he said. Yes, she said, the furnishings were good furnishings, he said. Yes, she said. The soldiers outside were in formal dress, he said. Yes, she said. He looked at her. You read 14 months of survey reports, he said, to find a person. And then you brought that person to a warship with a door that opened from the inside and good furnishings and soldiers in formal dress, and you used the bilateral word and you gave the bilateral claim both ways. She looked at him with the full quality, not the assessment quality, not the institutional quality, the underneath quality. The quality of the person who had read 14 months of documentation for the genuine quality and who had found, in the finding, the person the bilateral word was for. Yes, she said, I did all of those things. Because, he said, because the genuine quality in the documentation was the genuine quality of a person, she said. And the person was worth the 14 months and the word and the bilateral claim and the door that opened from the inside. She looked at him, the person was worth finding. He looked at the Eastern system and the contact's location and the approach they had developed, and the 3 weeks and the 14 months and the genuine unknown, and the bilateral claim present between them with the full weight of the Varath framework's strongest claim. The Eastern contact, he said, together. Yes, she said, together. And after the Eastern contact, he said. She looked at him with the full, complete, genuine quality of someone who had read 14 months of documentation for this person, and who was, in the looking, present in what the 14 months and the 3 weeks and the genuine quality and the bilateral word had built. Together, she said. The warship moved through the Eastern system's approach with the operational quality of a vessel doing what it had been built to do. The command systems, and the tactical assessment, and the institutional framework all performing their functions with the competence the functions required. In the command chamber at the viewport, the genuine unknown visible in the deep Eastern system ahead, and the contact's location known, and the approach ready. 2 people stood with the bilateral word between them and the complete picture built both ways and the genuine quality present in the specific, honest way of something that was what it was. Not a prisoner, not an asset, not a resource. The person the word was for. Standing at the viewport of a warship whose door had opened from the inside, with the queen who had read 14 months of documentation to find the genuine quality and who had found, in the finding, the person, and who had used the bilateral word because the bilateral word was the accurate word, and the accurate word was the one the genuine unknown's honest reading had always required. Together at the viewport, the Eastern system reel ahead of them, the word reel between them, both ways, which was, as the 5 years of the frontier's honest unknown, and the 14 months of documentation read for the genuine quality, and the 3 weeks of the working, and the bilateral claim had always been building toward. The only accurate description of what the warship's command chamber contained at the approach to the genuine unknown. Simply the genuine quality, present both ways, real.